Today is July 19th, 2012. We're interviewing Donald L. DeMoss, who was born February 10th, 1938, and he served in the Army as a specialist, 4th class during the Cold War conflict. My name is Linda Good. I'm a friend of Don's, and we are in Covington, Ohio for this recording. The interview is being conducted for the Miami County Veterans History Project in the American Folk Life Center at the Library of Congress with Representative John Boehner's office. Good evening. I'd like to thank you for sharing your experiences through this interview. Tell us about your life before the service. Where were you born?
I was born in Dark County in 1938, February the 2nd.
Okay.
My parents was Earl and Edna DeMoss, and Dad, he was a farmer. He worked at Frigidaire, and later on he retired out of Indianapolis with Allison.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have two brothers. One's 5 years older, and the other one is younger, a couple years younger. And they both live in Miami County.
Okay. And you said that your father was a farmer?
Yes, he was a farmer sometime during my lifetime.
Okay. And where did you go to school?
I went to Franklin School for 4 years, and then I went to Newton, which is in Pleasant Hill, Ohio, and I graduated from Piqua Central in Piqua, Ohio.
Okay. What did you do before entering the service?
Between school, I went into service right after graduating almost. That summer, I spent the summer working in a packing house at the Baldecker Packing Company in Piqua, Ohio. And then in September 3rd, 1957, I went into the Army.
Okay. And do you have any other family members in the service?
Now, I have a grandson that's in Korea right now. He's in the Air Force.
And your brothers, did any of them serve in the service?
My younger brother was a Air Force. He was called up during the Vietnam War for a year.
Okay. And how did you enter the service?
I was an RA. I was a regular Army. I volunteered because I knew I was going to go. Back then we had the draft. And so I turned 19, and it was time to, either I wanted to interrupt my life or get it started, you know. So I joined the Army, and they picked us up in a Greyhound bus in Piqua and took us to Fort Thomas. And that's where I got on the wrong side of the page and it said, "Zip your mouth, soldier."
Why did you choose the Army?
I don't know. I guess it was just everything the recruiters was around was the Army. That morning, and we got on the Greyhound, there was people from Walpock, Lima. It was loaded with recruits, like they'd all been scheduled to go at one time.
Okay.
So,
and where did you say you took your basic training?
Fort Benning, Georgia. That spent 11 days in Fort Knox, and then I was shipped to Fort Benning, Georgia, and got there, I think, September the 11th. And then on March the 11th of '58, we shipped overseas.
Okay. And did you do any special training?
Well, I went to boiler school and sniper school. And I went up through that, and then one day before we shipped, I was even going to be a medic one time. They told me I was to be a medic. And then one day we stand out in the line. I don't know why, but they said, "DeMoss, you got cook." And I went to say, that's the first thing I learned to hate in the Army, was a big loudmouth cook. And somebody hit me back in the ribs and said, "Shut up, DeMoss, that's the best racket in the Army." So that's how I became a cook.
So how adjusting to military life, was the training hard?
Yes, yes, yes. We've
How
done more
so?
foxholes in Georgia for a lot of peanuts, I bet. But we did, the basic was rough, very rough. We went through a 6-week basic, a 6-week advanced basic, and then they shipped us.
Can you tell us a few more things you did in basic training?
Yeah, we did. It was rough. We had some ex-Marines in there, and they said it was rougher than the Marine basic we had, because it was, we had fresh commanders that was out of Korea that went in as enlisted men, and they were, we were supposed to live up to Ollie Murphy, I think, because he was in the 3rd Division. I was in the 3rd Infantry Division, and that's how it was rough.
What were the barracks like?
Well, it wouldn't pass for today. We had bunks on top of one another. You either got the top bunk or the bottom bunk, and there was 44 guys. There's 22 downstairs, and I think 22 upstairs. And you had, I think, 11 commodes in a line, and that was our sanitation, our showers. We had one big room for a shower, or not big room, but enough for maybe 4 or 5 guys at a time to take a shower. So it was down in the Harmony Church area at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay. And what was the food like?
Well, it got good after a while, but normally it was pretty decent. Being a small guy like I was, I always got the little piece of cake. Seemed like the guy in front of me be a big guy, and he'd get a big corner piece or something like that. So, but it was good. I learned to eat everything. I can't believe somebody comes out of the Army and says, I don't like this, I don't like that. He wasn't hungry. And because we didn't get to go to the PX to get snacks or anything like that. And you didn't have days off either.
You said it was good after a while. What was it like in the very beginning?
Well, it was different because you just got a little bit on a tray, and a lot of people lost a lot of weight. I mean, you had to do pull-ups before you went into the mess hall. Maybe you had to do 20. If you couldn't, go back to the end of the line and think about it. When the line got down, you might make it. You get at the end there. So.
Now, did you have any social life? What did you do for your social life there?
In Fort Benning, after we were allowed a pass, if we could go overnight pass, I'd get that and we'd go to a hotel where we could sleep or anything. It was because they'd come in, beat on pans and everything, wake you up, and it was not fun. It's not like it is today.
How often did you get a chance to have a social life down there?
I would say my 6 months there, maybe 4 or 5 times, and then we got to come home. I got to come home over New Year's, 1958. I was home when 58 came in, New Year's, and we got I think a 7-day leave before we went overseas, and that was it. And we were shipped out in March. Went in September, in 6 months we was going.
Okay. And where did you serve then?
I served in Schweinfurt, Germany. Was there from March. We shipped out on the General Patch ship, and we was 11 days going across the ocean. We got there the 22nd to Schweinfurt. We rode all night on a train from Bremen, Germany, into Schweinfurt.
How was the trip over the ocean for 11 days?
I carried a brown bag pretty good with me. 3 days out, that was the duration, that was the day everything came up, and then from then on it was all right. And it just takes a while to get used to that sea when that's slapping around and everything.
And then how long was the train ride?
Gee whiz, I can't recall, but I knew it was all night because I heard it click, click. And that was one of the best nights of sleep you could ever want on that train, just that click, 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 click all night long. And we had little, I don't know, there's 6 of us, I think, in a little booth.
Okay. And then when you arrived at your destination, what did you see? What was it like?
We got on a truck and they took us to our barracks, which was really nice compared to stateside. We had rooms over there, maybe 6 people to a room, and we had nice wall lockers, big. You could put your clothes in it, hang them up, and you had room for your shaving gear, and you had your foot lockers was on stands, and we had hardwood floor, which we had air free. Friday night we had a GR party. We'd have to take steel wool and scrub all that wax off them floors.
Now, what kind of party did you call it?
GI party.
Oh, okay.
A GI. Thought I pronounced correctly. GI party, we'd take steel wool and we'd get down on our hands and knees, or we'd take our feet and put it on the steel wool and work to get that off, and then we'd have to wax it, and we'd have a great big buffer, which you learn to run them things, and make that floor. It would shine, and everybody on Friday night to Saturday morning, no one walked on that floor without a sock. They had their socks on yet. You didn't walk with shoes.
Because
we had inspections every Saturday morning, and so it was RA.
Did you always pass inspection?
Yeah, we always passed inspection, but they inspected the rooms every day also. And I did get, I think, gigged one time for mud on my shoes, or one of the guys did. I was room commander also, and I went into the commander, and he restricted our pass, and I talked him out of it. So he said the food had been pretty good.
Did you witness any action?
No,
Okay.
no, not. I had when Lebanon in 1958. We had other barracks up the road, and some of the boys went there. They went to Lebanon, and Berlin. I went through Berlin in '59, which was pretty scary. We weren't allowed to go to bed or anything. It wasn't no taking off your clothes and going to bed. It was pretty close.
So what were your duties away from the front line?
Well, we didn't have really a front line. We had a mission every 3 months. We had what called X-rays. X-ray, that was a code word for going up to the border, which we were to lay down an infantry fire for the engineers while they blew up bridges if Khrushchev decided to come to see us. And that was duty there. And then we just, different trainings. We'd have alerts every month, and sometimes more would be sent down by the 5th Corps or the battalion or the division. Alert was at 4 o'clock in the morning. They would tell you that they're coming, and you had to pack up your field gear and go. And you left you didn't take shaving equipment and stuff like that with you. You just took your shelter half, and you had your backpack all ready, and take your mess kit and your rifle, and you were going on that truck. And,
Now, how long were you gone?
well, it might only last 2 or 3 hours. And then again, we had a couple times it lasts 3 days. You didn't know, so you didn't, and yet you have to shave out your steel pot. You would have your helmet, and you'd have to take the water, and they did require you to shave if you had to dry shave. So it was different today,
Okay.
I'm sure.
Now, did you make any friendships while you were over there?
I don't have any friends. I went to service with one fella from Pleasant Hill, and I don't see him very often, but no, I don't, because we were a lot of college boys from Erie, Pennsylvania, where they were from Louisiana, California, Kentucky, New Jersey. I had a real good friend from New Jersey, and one from Annapolis, Maryland, Ernie Miller and Bob Varanus, and one from Reading, Pennsylvania, and then there's one from Massachusetts was a good friend. So we were from all over Germany together. So
what did you do to buddy around over there?
drink beer and try to talk some language to Frauleins and stuff like that. But we would go to the guest house, and back then you could buy a beer for 12 and a half pfennigs. That would be about 12 and a half cents, I think it is. You could buy one, but normally they were a mark, which would be 24.6. It was like a quarter. That was our and Mark was a quarter, I think. Yeah, Mark was a quarter.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
With the letters. We didn't have telephones to call. Didn't have any computers. When you left for 2 years, you didn't see them for 2 years or whatever it was.
How much did you try? Often did you try to write, or how quickly did you get letters back and forth?
My mother was real good about writing. She'd write me at least once or twice a week, I think. And now I had a girlfriend. I'd get a letter maybe once or twice a week, and then maybe I'd get a Dear John and wouldn't get anything for a month. But anyway, I ended up marrying her then when I came back from overseas. So,
So when you were off duty, what was your most fun thing to do?
well, eventually I had a buddy. We bought a car, or I had a Mercedes. I bought a car. Eventually at the end of my tour, and we would go different places and do stuff and go. But normally we went downtown. We would go on the Mine River and go kayaking, and get us a case of beer, and away we go. And but normally I was going to the guest house at night. Or go to the movie once in a while. If we was broke, we could go to the movie for a quarter. So we would go to the movie and see.
Now, what type of movies did they have?
Well, they had the River Kayak, I think you've heard of, Frank Sinatra and them. There was a mandatory thing in the States that we had to go see To Hell and Back, which was Audie Murphy. We had to see that. And there was all kind of movies. You go back in the 50s, 8, 9, that was those movies we'd see. I can't recall anything but the River Kayak to them, but I remember that one, seeing that. When we went to them, normally we'd wear our uniform because we'd have our other clothes in the cleaners. And I remember once we had an extra locker in our room that a sergeant that lived off base because he was married and had a family, but he kept his dress greens and everything there. And my buddy Ernie Miller, he did not have his uniform or anything right, so he put on that thing and wore sergeants, and he was only a PFC. And so we would go to the movie with that, and as soon as we could tell the credits were coming up, the movie was over, we went out the back door and walked home in the shadows, so we didn't get seen about that. I remember that. And we'd loan each other our clothes, or I got a shirt to wear. You're buddies then. You're friends. I mean, closer than what your brothers and you are, really, or sisters and stuff. Then if you're not, well, then we had some real nasty people also that lived in our room. And that's the reason I wouldn't want to stay in the service back then. I mean.
Now, how long were you over there?
I went over, I was over there in March and came back in March of 60.
And part of your time was spent in Lebanon and part was spent...
No, I didn't go to Lebanon. The friends did.
Okay.
Some of them went to Lebanon, but we were right there for Berlin.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
So you spent your entire time in Berlin?
No, I didn't go to Berlin. I was in Schweinfurt.
Okay.
Yeah. That was one of the complexes, Berlin, when the thing was coming up.
Okay. And then when you got your papers to come home, was that when the war ended, or did you get
there
it
wasn't no
before?
war.
Well, the Cold War. The Cold
The
War.
Cold War went on for Vietnam, or then afterwards. Now I got a chance to come back to the States in March, and so I came back, and we.
How did you get that chance?
Well, they asked for like a volunteer. There was a volunteer deal. You could come, and the other boys had left. They only had to pull like 18 months over there. The guys were on the M for 2 years because it was 6 months in the States before we shipped, and then they got to come back like 2 weeks before they got discharged. But they had to go to the camp every year for 2 weeks, and I didn't have to. That's right, I took 3, like that. So.
Okay. And how did you come home? Did you come back on the ship again, or how did you
Yes,
get home?
on the ship, and the paper bag didn't do any good coming back. All I did was sit in the stairwell. Of course, we had our duties. I think I was in charge of the closet to hand out cleaning utensils because every morning we had to scrub the ship and everything, and so I got to sit there by the stairwell on the bag and everything. Coming back, we ran into a storm. If you imagine March in the North Atlantic, coming out of Brema, and we were coming into New York Naval Harbor, where the Statue of Liberty at Brooklyn Naval Yard, where we came into, and we were 200 miles out around a storm. We could see whales out there spouting off, and we had I guess it was a big shark. It was big, and it just laid alongside the ship, and everybody got to see him. He was big, and I know the cruise ships are big today, but this was a two-stacker. The same ship that Elvis Presley went on. I came back on the Rose, which Elvis was also over there in Germany, and I saw him washing his Jeep one day when we by out there. So, and we had Willis. I know if anybody knows boxing, he was there, and he came in our mess hall once and won some milk or something. We had a few people as celebrities got to see and stuff.
Okay. And when you came back home, how did your family, were they able to meet you, or?
I'm trying to think. I don't even recall. I came, when I got back to the States, I got 2 weeks leave, I think it was, and I went to Fort Dix, and how I really got home, I don't remember, but I know I got married when I was home, and then we drove a car, a little TR3 Triumph, back to New Jersey, and went there. But I'd been through tank training at Camp Stewart, also in Georgia. We'd done that, and then I went to cook school, and I can't even think of it now, but southern part of Germany, which was really quite a treat. We had Lower Alps where we was at, Lindgries, Germany, and we had a chairlift right behind us, and a guest house on top of the hill, mountain. So
what was your favorite part of that? It was a treat. What was your favorite part?
To just see that the thing, because we're right, probably fairly close to. We had a Switzerland type of town, the little old church. You had the wooden bridge you went across, and you had the little church down there with the steeple, and just a neat setting. And I was there for 56 days, or 8 weeks, I guess, or 12 weeks, whatever it was, for cook and baker school. And,
that was a good time.
Yeah, I came out third in the class, so I was happy and everything like that.
Okay, when you came back to the States, how was the readjustment to family life? You said you got married pretty quick after you came back.
Yeah, she proposed to me. That's the honest God truth. And it was no adjustment. I don't know. I didn't have any problem with it. It was, we just got an apartment. I was able to live off base, and just got up early in the morning and went into work, and we got a mess hall out in Fort Dix, and we had a bunch of 90-day people we were training for. They were lawyers. We had lawyers, school teachers, and everything else that was in there for the summer, like 90 days, and so they get back to their jobs or whatever they get doing.
So how long did you do that?
I got out in September. I got relieved from duties to get my papers to get out in August. So I was there like mostly May, June, and July, and half of August. And then I started processing, which when I was there, I made Soldier of the Month of my company. And I got to go to the regiment and up to division in there. And if I would have passed that, if I'd have won that, I'd have got a 3-day pass to New York City with a $75 saving bond. But I have to tell you, I goofed up. When I walked in, the colonel says, DeMoss, and I said, yes, sir. He said, French, and he said, Parlez-vous français, and I said, oui, oui. And so we did everything. I thought I did real good. The company gave me a day off to polish my brass and everything. I did real good, and when it was done with me, he said, DeMoss, I want you to say goodbye to me in French. And I had to say, I don't know how, sir. So I cut my own throat.
And you said that you made some good buddies over there. They were kind of spread across the U.S., but
Yes, but I've never seen a one of them.
you haven't been able to keep in contact over the years.
Never did. One, Bob Varanus wrote a real nice letter to my parents about bragging on me. I wish I had that letter today, but I can never. The area codes and everything changed. You just can't get in touch with them. Seemed like Ernie Miller. I did go to his house once, I think, and he wasn't home in Annapolis, Maryland.
Okay. And are you a member of any veterans organizations?
Yes, I'm a life member of the AMVETS. I'm a member of the VFW, and that's it. On veterans, I'm a member of a lot of the other groups.
Okay.
That's it.
And how has the wartime experiences, the Cold War, affected your life? How do you think it's affected you?
I don't know if it really affects me anyway at all, because I've been the type of person we've had to pick up and go no matter. Just like the Korean people, they didn't have a parade for those guys come back, and they were one of the last, and World War II guys, one of the last people to have a wall built for them. So we just had to go back to work. I went to work. I came back. I did go to Florida after I got discharged from Fort Dix. I drove down to Florida, stayed down there for a week, and came back and found an apartment and went to work at Valdecker Packing Company.
Can you say of any life lessons that maybe you learned from your military service?
Yes, I know. You know, don't be a baby. I don't know how to explain it to you. You know, there's somebody gets hurt, you go on. We did forced marches, and we had a big old boy. He collapsed from the heat and everything, and I walked around him, and they made me go back and walk over that boy. Nothing else, step on that boy. I've been kicked, cussed, everything in the military. And if you're out of step, they kick you right in the shin to get you step. And then you might have water and sand and everything else in your boots. Back then in Germany, you weren't allowed to tear up an anthill or dig a foxhole, except unless you went to a training ground. And went some of Hitler's old places where it had been bombed out.
You had been there?
Mm-hmm. I traveled a little bit while I was there. I went to London, Paris, Rome, Venice.
What did some of those places look like that used to belong to Hitler and now they were bombed out?
Well, in my own hometown of Schweinfurt, there's a thing called Gugelage factory, which means ball bearing. The factory had been bombed, and it was still just skeletons of it when I left. When I first went downtown, there was in Schweinfurt, it was buildings of steel brick, just like you took a backhoe in or something and crushed it and left a lay. And when I left, it was built up maybe a bar for the GIs or something like that, and stuff like that. But there was a lot of experiences. I was the best man at a wedding one time there, and I got another car. I had a 50 Pontiac we'd bought, and my buddy and I, we went in partnership on that car, and we hauled the bride and groom around through there. We was down to Gugelage place, and not to Gugelage, but Mayor's place. I'm trying to think of what you call it in German, but anyway, been down there at Mayor's place, and I stood up for these two, and they got married there. And I was the godfather of the sergeant. We used his uniform that one night. I was godfather of their child, which I don't know today, but I was godfather. So that's some of the German stuff there. And then coming back to the States, it was real quick, it was fast.
As in?
Well, the time went fast because weekends, if I got off, I'd work at a day and then get off a day. I'd go in at noon, get off the next day at noon. I'd have the afternoon, play golf, maybe or something like that. You know, went military and played golf, different things. We didn't have much money. The rent was $90 a month, and the water bill was $4 and something, and I only got $99, and so I filled the car with gas, and my 99 was shot. We had $137.10 to last us for the month to buy the food and everything, but we had all bills paid and stuff. So,
Is there anything else about your service that you'd like to tell us, or a
well,
unique
there's a lot of
story?
stories I'm keeping quiet about, but you know, I mean, I did. Yeah, I'm glad I went. I'm glad today because of the VA and things like that has really helped out a lot. And so I joined the infantry. I don't suggest anybody join that infantry anymore. That's not the brightest idea in the world, but I did it. So to Gyro to Germany. But I was in the 3rd Infantry Division, Company A, 2nd Battle Group, 38th Infantry. And there's no organization prouder than the 3rd Infantry Division. So that's my story pretty much, I guess. So.
Well, thank you so much for your service. We appreciate your time for the interview. Thank you, Don, so much.
Well, thank you for having me.